Good morning, everybody. It is Saturday in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. My name is Adam Bittner, assistant sports editor for multimedia at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, joined today by one of my senior classmates at Penn State, Michael Mauti. Michael, how are you?
Doing great, Adam. How you doing?
I'm well. It's good to talk to you. It's been a long time, but I'm glad to have you on the podcast because you've made some news this past spring. It's been a tumultuous few months at Penn State because of name, image, and likeness issues. Just to give anyone who might be tuning in for the first time to this topic a little bit of background, back in, I believe, early April, late March, Micah Shrewsberry left Penn State, the Penn State basketball coach who took them to their first NCAA tournament since 2011, in part because of NIL issues that he expressed throughout the season. And he expressed frustration, and so he left and went to Notre Dame after a successful NCAA tournament run. That prompted some people to be upset at losing one of the best basketball coaches Penn State's had in a long time. Among them, Michael, was you, and you expressed some of those frustrations online. Just for a little bit more context, you were affiliated with the Lions Legacy Club. Jay Paterno, one of your former coaches at Penn State, he was affiliated with Success with Honor, which was another Penn State NIL collective. They kind of had different philosophical views about how to navigate this, transitional time in college sports and in Penn State history. So, Michael, I just wanted to give you first, before we really get into some questions I had for you, a chance to kind of articulate what your frustrations were through that process and how you feel that they've been addressed. Notably, Happy Valley United is now the merger of Lions Legacy Club and Success with Honor. That's a headline from over the summer so far. So I just wanted to give you a chance to talk in a little more detail, a little more nuance, what your issues were with what was going on and how they've been addressed.
Yeah, well, come out swinging, right, Adam? Look, I think here's the best part. Here's the best news, and here's what all that really matters in this. And I'll go back to we'll kind of backtrack from earlier this year because we've come such a long way, and there's been so much progress in the best way, and for Penn State and the way that this is all developed and how much ground it's really covered. But having everybody under the same roof and rowing in the same direction is huge, and that's all that matters, and that's where I believe we are today. And so that's just where we were trying to get to, and a lot of that I think was there was a lot of people working behind the scenes for the last year and a half, trying to get really since the ruling came out a couple of years ago. For those that are like in the football business or who follow football, work in it every day, or understand it, when that NIL ruling came out, what the implications of that would be, and putting a plan and having a structure in place to be able to navigate the new environment was going to be paramount, and that's where really I started tuning in and tracking what's our plan, and then following kind of. And I have a unique lens. I was able to see things from a different perspective inside the program, outside the program. I've been, talk to coaches and follow how things are developing around the country, and I've been in the football business. And essentially, without getting too far in the weeds, is having now the new college competitive landscape where you're able to have no salary cap essentially and have no roster cap, and then be able to freely, no transfer restrictions, or at least limited with the portal. A lot of challenges, a lot of dynamics at play, and so I thought it was. I'm feeling like somebody who's had a lot invested in the program, and myself, and I've sacrificed, and I'm a stakeholder, care about what's best for the program, and want to see it succeed. That's where I started working on. Okay, let's get a plan together. Let's bring the right people in place. What are the challenges that we're facing, and what's how can we stay competitive? That's what it comes down to, and so. What I love is seeing how Pat Krafts has come in. I think we've got leadership at Penn State like that. I'm incredibly optimistic and encouraged, and and excited about that's going to really lead Penn State into a new era here, and that kind of alignment from the top down, you could see it's evident from President Neely to Pat Kraft to James Franklin to everyone's rowing in the same direction, coming back to that analogy. And so really it just comes down to when I started to speak publicly, and I don't want to look back. All that matters is that we're on the pathway forward. And look, and Jay and I, there's absolutely no bad, but we have much more in common than we have differences, and that's nothing we haven't. We talk face to face, and we have respect for each other. And the Paterno, Joe's dad, the Paterno legacy, I'm a part of and a product of. So that was a matter of differences in vision, philosophy, and I think a lot of that just came into the fold because everyone was so passionate about and excited about the run that basketball was having with Micah and in the tournament. And so to see kind of, whoa, what happened? It just was a matter of, hey, that's, let's make sure that this doesn't happen now, trickle into football. It was just an opportunity that basketball situation felt like a catalyst to really get attention for people to come to the table to say, hey, what's the football? Now, we don't want to see this happen, with the football program because the tune could easily change if everyone's not aligned on the direction in terms of how we're going to be able to compete and maintain a staff and maintain a roster and retain the roster that is currently there and then recruit and move into the future. So that's where that's coming from.
Yeah, I kind of want to get into, how did everyone get on the same page? Because we don't need to dig into the weeds about, what the differences were. I think everyone kind of knows that this is a Penn State conversation about how do you preserve that Paterno legacy, success with honor, not to, use the term and the name of the collective in the same thing, but what does success with honor look like in an NIL era? And I think there were legitimate concerns about, pay to play and things like that don't always seem to conform to that. But it's about striking a balance between competing in this, 21st century, whatever you want to call it, landscape and preserving those values. So what were those conversations like that helped you and people like Jay get on the same page and start rowing in the same direction? Where did you guys kind of find that common ground that maybe wasn't there before?
Well, I just think it came down to, and it was a process. I think that the ability to bring in a group that does NIL collectives, with Blueprint Sports, they understand best practices around the country. They understand how this is gonna mature in the direction that this is going. The ability to support all of the student athletes and then give them the best opportunities, and it's going to require a full team. It's going to require a full staff, and it's going to require there's a lot of let's say complementary cross-functional communications, coordination. It's a big machine. Penn State athletics, Penn State University, state dynamics, and it's a fluid regulatory environment. So those are all variables that make it a challenge to get everyone aligned. But really, it comes down to the culture at Penn State is something that you can't buy, and it's something that Penn State fans and alumni, the culture has never been one where we're just going to come out and pay players just to show up, and play football. That's not how it's been. But the rules, again, the dynamics in college football, the competitive landscape allows for now players to go out and be in the business community and have those kind of abilities to participate. And now, really, on the flip side, going back to the culture and going back to what makes Penn State great and why Paterno and that legacy is going to be perpetuated is hey, let's now, everyone knows what that is and what it looks like and doing things the right way. And so we have to co-create, that business, that model, and what now it's part of the competitive landscape. Again, it's part of college athletics. It's part of college football. And now, as just like players can participate, outside of into the business world, monetize. It provides opportunity for unprecedented access for fans to get closer and participate and directly support the players that they're watching and the team that they love. So, advantage Penn State when we really align and coordinate everybody in our alumni base in our ecosystem, and that's huge. I think that's exciting.
I wanted to pull at that full-time staff thread a little bit. You mentioned that Happy Valley United has. Do you kind of look at them as, for a fan perspective, trying to understand this constantly shifting landscape? Do you look at that full-time staff that this collective has now as kind of Penn State's NIL experts, the people that this is their whole thing? And just as, there's always been people who run the parking at games, who run, the tailgating lots. Now you have NIL experts who this is their whole thing. And just as we, need the cars to run well, in and out of town for bringing 110,000 people into Happy Valley for a football game, these people are making sure those trains run on time. Could you just talk to me a little bit about that element of Happy Valley United and, what that means?
Yeah, and it means a lot. And there still is a lot that is coming together that is, again, exciting. It's getting better every week, as it has since inception. But guys like, again, the leadership of Pat Kraft and the department and development staff and the guys that Pat's been bringing in, coordinating with the NIL staff and that team in the Lash building, with Dan Campolo, Rashad LB, those guys, and then the third party that has to be independent based on the rules, which is that collective entity. That's where a lot of this is coming together, and that structure, again, with Blueprint and trade and best practices at other universities, and because every place is different, right? Everybody's got a different dynamic, but Penn State is a big machine, and it's a lot. There's no one. You can't operate in the silo. That's not that's not a winning formula. So again, I think that's been the most encouraging and exciting part is having that professionalizum about making sure we're having compliance, being efficient about the communication lines, and so we're allowing the players, really it's all about the players, is so they can focus on football and not have to worry about taking calls and making sure that they've got all the resources and access and that they need to be successful. And that's, again, advantage Penn State. Happy Valley United, having everybody under one banner is really it's an exciting accomplishment, achievement. Now that we've got everybody on the same boat, let's row, right? That's good job. That's great. Now we can go because guess what? There's schools that we're competing against that have that in place and that are going. So if we expect to compete, and I believe we will, based on the guys and the trajectory that football program's on, then we got to go. So that's what's happening.
What have the conversations you've had with donors been like? Do you get the sense that this is kind of an education thing in terms of, we're trying to do things the right way here and explaining that to the donor class so that if they have kind of icky feelings about this, which I think are understandable in terms of NIL, because it's a foreign concept to a lot of people still. You and I live in that world every day, but I think people who are not, in reading every news article about NIL and how things are evolving, I can understand why it feels a little bit icky to them. So is this on some level about education and kind of getting even more people into the fold as you go on?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, Adam. That's been the biggest, what was initially the headwind, and it's what was it, NIL? Were we just paying people? How do I participate? There's so many ways you can do it. So a lot of that was early on the front end was slow. We're kind of marching through the swamp, so to speak, just ironing things out, educating on a daily basis, and trying to align, the message and the narratives. Going back to your initial question, we had a couple of different groups, and outside looking in, and it's like, you guys, let's go get it together. So that's been huge. Having getting resources out there, getting the ability to have on all the social medias, aligning the messaging and the narratives, and that's really the biggest thing. So people know how to support, know what it is, why it is, how it is, and that's the biggest thing.
Michael, you are a Penn State great. You're synonymous with that 2012 team and helping keep everyone together through the Sandusky scandal sanctions. I wanted to ask what your role is, moving forward with this, and what are you trying to do specifically within Happy Valley United to kind of get people on board? I know what the organization is doing, but what are you doing? Because I think a lot of people would love to know that, given how well they feel like they know you from watching you all those years on the field.
Yeah. So my focus is, again, I want what's best for Penn State athletics, Penn State University. Of course, that goes without saying. But my focus will be on football, on bringing connect. I'm on calls, directing donors to ways that they can participate and to our team. Doing podcasts like this and helping spread the gospel on Penn State football and NIL, and becoming a member, Happy Valley United, and being a part of it, because that's going to be really exciting when we start aligning the whole tribe here. But it'll be more from the externally facing role, more so, as opposed to kind of being behind closed doors like in the last year or so.
Can non-millionaire donors get involved with NIL? Because I think that is also something that a lot of people may not understand. They think about this as kind of guys with a lot of money rolling in, giving Penn State, giving players money through deals and stuff. But there are ways for more small dollar donors to get involved, aren't there?
There is, and again, that's the biggest and most important message. If there's one takeaway, is that you don't need to be we're not looking for, not everyone has to have donated $1 million. Now that's great, and no one would ever, I'd never say to not do that, but becoming a member, even if it's $5, $10 a month, even if it's $5, just being a part of it, becoming, at least starting the education process. Now we've got information coming out with the website, and the whole web team is running hard, full sprint, getting all those resources up, and we're going to be doing more education on a more of a cadence regularly throughout the fall. We've got a big event coming up in the end of July in Avalon, which would be kind of a showcase at the end of the summer with a lot of Penn State big donors, but also that Penn State is not just a concentrated group of people with money. That's one of the best things, and one of our biggest advantages is the size and around the country, around the world, 760,000 active alumni, and so being able to find ways for people to participate, that it's not always necessarily dollars. It's being a part of the collective, being a part of NIL. NIL is a component of the landscape now. So supporting NIL is supporting Penn State.
Michael, I know before the merger with Lions Legacy Club, one of the big deals that you guys struck was with West Shore Home. I think it was in the millions of dollars deal. Could you talk to me more about, I guess, that deal, and then maybe similarly, you mentioned that there's lots of ways to get involved. There's lots of things that Penn State Happy Valley United can do that conform with Penn State's values. What does that look like as a fan who's just reading headlines and saying, I still don't completely understand NIL and what the difference between pure play to play and doing NIL kind of the right way looks like?
Yeah, and again, there are a lot of viewpoints on this, and there is no one way that this can go. But there are ways that you can be supportive and be a part of it and participate. Whether that's if you want to player appearance, that's one way. If you want to, there's that corporate sponsorship, i.e., like you mentioned, West Shore. That those guys were huge supporters, and that was one of the deals that really turned the tide to help get this thing going. There's so many businesses that support Penn State across the state that really served as a social proof to say, hey, here's how this was structured. Here's we can do this with if your business every business benefits from Saturdays when Penn State football is in Happy Valley. So that was a way, at least again, social proof on the business side. On the player engagement side, that's a way that they can participate. And then you have the membership side. So, and that's, again, you have different avenues and different ways that you can support. And all of that information and all of that marketing materials and those things are going to be coming up and coming in, and will be accessible and available.
We talked a little bit about Pat Kraft. I think he's kind of been a lightning rod for criticism. Just full disclosure, I was certainly critical around the time of Micah Shrewsberry's department myself. But I think there's been a lot of praise for how he's handled things since. And I think you've kind of been on the inside of what that's looked like. What has his role been? What have those conversations been like with him? And what are your feelings about his sense of urgency on this issue?
Look, one thing I do know since the first day I met Pat which was about shortly after he got to Penn State. I don't work in the office every day with Pat. I know that he's got a demonstrated record of having success where he came from. I know that he's extremely bright, intelligent, has a team and a vision for where this is going and what he wants to do with this and how. That's I'm on the outside of that looking in. I'm a supporter. So one thing I do know he's doing. He loves Penn State. You see him on the sidelines at every sport, every game. He's the linebacker mentality, right? He's jumping on the sideline. That's how emotional and energetic, and you can tell that kind of passion that you can't fake, and that's what I know is authentic. And so I'm a fan. First, but also I know that you see the traction and the trajectory and how this thing's developing. I don't know the ins and outs of that deal with Micah. I do know that whatever the case, hey, it got everyone's attention in terms of getting people to understand hey, everybody look over here. We got an NIL situation, whether that was the direct, whether that was the reason. I don't know. And it really, at this point, it doesn't matter. We've got a new basketball coach, and he's doing a great job, and we're getting guys in. And it's all that matters is, hey, we got it. That's our basketball team. We're going to support who's there. That's again, I'm excited about the direction of the basketball program. I am with Coach Rose, and I've only met him once, but I've heard just great things about what he's doing and the guys he's bringing in. So that again is exciting.
I wanted to ask you've used this boat reference, and that everyone's now on the boat. That's kind of what this kind of season in Penn State has been about. A year from now it's about rowing, right? How confident are you that a year from now Penn State's where, if not exactly where it needs to be, then close to where it needs to be on NIL, and that this is something that isn't going to be a 5-year thing. It might be a 1-year thing. What's your level of confidence there?
Well, I don't know if there's ever if we ever get there. It's not like this is a year and okay, we're good. It's this thing is going to continue. If the competitive landscape doesn't stop. I mean, the way that the playoffs are going, it's a constant year-round. These guys, Coach Franklin and his staff and his support staff and recruiting, those guys work so hard all year round, and now they're dealing with the portal, and so this thing is not just going to be a year thing. This is going to be it's going to be a building trajectory, and I don't know if we ever get there. We just row as hard as we can, and that's kind of the way I look at it. But having all the energy go in the same direction and having it aligned, again, that's where I go back to how we started this conversation, which is the most important thing, is that it's all going in that direction.
Michael, I also wanted to talk a little bit of football with you. I wanted to start with you. Obviously you're kind of in your post-football days now. What have you been up to in addition to this? And just in life, what does post-football look like for Michael Mauti?
Well, I'm not post-football. I'm actually I'm back in football. I'm at Trinity High School in Camp Hill with Jordan Hill, head coach at Trinity. That's been about the last few months now, working every day over there, which has been really, really a lot of fun. And I'm working on having a successful season. And we're really optimistic about our group of kids that we've got, and building that football program and that school. So that's one thing I've been really enjoying doing, and that's what I don't consider myself post football. Football is I love football and being around it, and especially at this level. And back in Central Pennsylvania, it really is. You see my Louisiana map back here, but Pennsylvania is really my second home, and it's been good to be back here, back in Penn State country.
Absolutely. I wanted to ask you about the team itself. First of all, I want to start with Abdul Carter. He is a linebacker. He's playing at your spot, linebacker you. What do you like about his game, and what do you think his potential is and the impact he can make in the year ahead here?
Well, I mean, I think you've seen the impact he can make since day one. All I had to see was his first play, his first career snap as a Penn State linebacker. He gets ejected, penalty, which that in itself, I'm like, all right, I could get behind that. And I thought it was clean and aggressive hit. That's my view, because I'm a linebacker, and I think, if those were the rules when I was playing, I'd have been thrown out of every game, I think, because I was throwing my head in there. But Abdul, I think, has special ability, and he's got now with Manny Diaz calling the plays. He's got Dan Connor in there. He's got guys around him, that are developing his craft. But he's just a lot of fun to watch, and I think he's got a bright future. And to add to that, now I think you've got a loaded stable in that linebacker room, which last year got a little thin, body wise, and I just think now we got some young guys to complement that linebacker room, so it's gonna be great.
A lot of Penn State fans are also excited about the likely. I don't think it's official yet, but Drew Aller is the guy people are talking about at quarterback. We saw him a little bit last season. What did you like about his game, and what do you like about his ability to, come in and be ready as a sophomore to make a difference for Penn State?
Well, look, I mean, there's a reason he was as touted highly as he was coming in to Penn State. Coming out of Ohio. I think that it's great that he had a year, with Sean to kind of to learn and watch and kind of sometimes you don't necessarily want to throw a young quarterback in there too soon. That's you see how that plays out in some cases, but I'm not a quarterback's coach. I see what his let's say attributes, or size, eyeball test, those things, and he's got great coaching and he's got great quarterback room. Even I would say that again, bright future. And he's gonna. You can't. I don't think go where you want to go as a football team if the quarterback play isn't aligned with that kind of performance. So I'm excited to watch him. Really, I am. I've heard good things about what's happened this summer. We saw him a little bit in the spring. It'll be great. It'll be great. Even in that quarterback room. Now you've got two. You got Aller, of course, but then even Bo Babula, who's going to find a way, I think, to get on the field, or at least has done that. So it'll be fun. It'll be fun to watch. It'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, what do you think of those expectations overall of this team? I know a lot of people expect them to compete for a college football playoff berth. I think that's kind of the expectation every season, but it kind of seems like we've gotten into this realm of getting close but not quite over what was James Franklin's words for it? Great but not elite. Is it reasonable for fans to expect that elite to happen now with all these young guys you have in these key positions, or do you think maybe there's a possibility they might need a year to mature and look toward 24, 25 as those years to really go for it?
Well, I mean, if you zoom out, you look at the trajectory that the program's been on. The momentum coming off the Rose Bowl win last year. I think that was a huge propellant in a lot of the recruiting that you've seen in the highlight recruiting calendar that the staff has had. The expectations, I think, that's one of going to be the difficult thing for these young guys. I'm thinking like as a player, really, you can't get ahead of yourself. You can't look. That's playoffs that's far away. We got to go 1 week at a time, 1 day at a time. Ability, sure, yeah, absolutely. Talent, potential, yeah, that's all there. I think, and that's what's exciting. So it's year 2 now, in Manny's system. So these guys are getting more developed and they're playing faster. And again, they've got all the ability. So they've just got to go man it, just get better every week. And I think they've got, they can go as far as they want to go.
Michael, I also wanted to ask you about some big picture stuff here. Obviously, the big news of the summer has been the change in the Big Ten divisions. Penn State no longer has any protected games against Ohio State, against Michigan, against USC, against anyone. They are literally unrivaled, as the marketing slogan was there for a little while. What do you think of how that has shaken out for Penn State? And is it a good thing that maybe you don't have to go through Ohio State and Michigan every year? Or are you going to miss seeing those games on an annual basis that kind of made the fall special and some special weekends?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't in those scheduling meetings. I don't know how that played out. I heard the news like everyone else. I couldn't, articulate the implications of not having that game. But what I'm excited about is having USC next year. If we're looking that far ahead, having that kind of presence, that's going to be a great game with a great team. The conference dynamic is. That's a moving target too. Anything, can happen year to year. So.
All right. Well, that's all I had for you, Michael. Was there anything you wanted to mention either personally or in terms of Happy Valley United before we sign off here? Because we really thank you for all the time that you gave us to kind of dig into these issues. So I wanted to give you a chance to sound off if there's anything else that we didn't get to that you wanted to in terms of this conversation.
Yeah, look, if you need more information, happyvalleyunited.com. There's going to be a lot more coming out here in the weeks preceding, leading up to the season. I would encourage everybody to go on and become a member. Even if it's just to sign up, just to follow and start paying attention to what's happening, because it is going to be an exciting year, and there is a lot of energy and momentum going in. I would say Saturdays are going to be this fall for me personally. It's going to be Saturdays at Penn State, but on Friday nights it's going to be Trinity, Camp Hill, Jordan Hill, and I and our squad. So we'll have a lot of football going on this fall.
Well, that sounds great, Michael. Hopefully we can have you back during the season. I know we're going to be starting our Penn State show on a regular basis here soon. So for our viewers, that's something that you can look out for. Hopefully we can have you talk a little bit more just about football, about, I'd love to reminisce about the 2012 team because that was my senior year. I was the collegiate football editor that year. Love to get a chance to reminisce about that, but I'm glad we got into these topics today with you because you've kind of been at the forefront of them, and it's been great to hear your perspective. So thank you for stopping by.
I appreciate it, Adam. I know we covered a lot of ground. It took us a few weeks to get this set up, but yeah, let's dive in anytime. We're happy to come back on the show. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And to all our viewers, we will be back next week. Christopher Carter on the North Shore Drive will be here Monday. I believe Ray Fittipaldo, Brian Batka, one of those two guys will be back from vacation. So lots of Steelers talk coming your way. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, through the rest of the week. And we're almost to training camp, Michael. So exciting times here in Pittsburgh as well.
Can't come soon enough. Let's go.
It'll be here before we know it. All right, everyone. Thank you and take care.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you liked the video, please like it and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you enjoyed it on Apple Podcasts, please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. For 6 months of digital access to post-gazette.com for just $6, click the link down in the description.